Have you ever felt like everything fell apart all at once, with no warning and no explanation? Have you ever wondered why the people who were supposed to support you became the very ones who turned against you? What if that was not a coincidence? What if that was not simply bad luck? What if that was the beginning of something written about you long before you were born, chosen one? There was a prophecy written about you before you took your first breath. Not in ancient scrolls or dusty texts, but in the fabric of reality itself, encoded in the patterns of your life, hidden in the challenges you would face, sealed within the trials that would shape you. Most people live their entire lives without ever encountering their prophecy. But you are different. Your enemies, in their arrogance and ignorance, did something that changed everything. They broke the first seal. They triggered the awakening. They set in motion a sequence of events that cannot be stopped, cannot be reversed, and will inevitably lead to their complete undoing while elevating you to heights they cannot even imagine. You see, prophecies do not activate themselves. They require specific conditions, particular circumstances, exact combinations of events to unlock. Your enemies provided those conditions. They delivered those circumstances. They created that exact combination, and now the prophecy is in motion. Reality is reshaping itself around you, and they are beginning to realize they did not attack a random person. They attacked the main character in a story written long before they existed. In every great story, the hero rises while those who oppose them fade into footnotes of cautionary tales. Before we go deeper into this revelation, I need you to understand something crucial. If you are watching this video right now, if these words are resonating with your soul, you are meant to hear this message. This is not coincidence. This is synchronicity. The algorithm did not randomly suggest this to you. The universe guided you here because you need to understand what is happening in your life. So do me a favor and hit that like button right now, not for me, but for yourself. That simple action sends a signal that you are ready to receive the full truth. It tells the algorithm to keep delivering these messages to others who need them. Pause for just a moment and do it now. I will wait. Good. Now let us talk about what makes you fundamentally different from everyone your enemies have ever encountered. You are what ancient wisdom traditions call an alchemist. Not someone who literally turns lead into gold, but someone who possesses the rare ability to transmute any experience into power, any poison into medicine, any attack into advantage. Most people are victims of their circumstances. When life hits them with hardship, they break. When people attack them, they crumble. When darkness surrounds them, they are consumed by it. But alchemists operate by different laws entirely. Alchemists understand a secret that most people never learn. Nothing is inherently good or bad, helpful or harmful. Everything is raw material. Everything is energy that can be transformed. And that is exactly what has been happening to you. A master alchemist can take the most toxic substance and through the process of transmutation, turn it into something valuable, something powerful, something that serves their highest purpose. Your enemies threw poison at you. They hurled toxicity. They dumped darkness, and you, whether you realized it consciously or not, began the alchemical process. You took their poison and transmuted it into wisdom. You took their toxicity and transformed it into strength. You took their darkness and converted it into an inner light so bright that it now blinds them when they look at you. This is not a metaphor. This is literally what happened. Every insult they threw carried energy. Every betrayal contained power. Every attack delivered force. In the hands of a normal person, that energy would have been destructive. That power would have been devastating. That force would have been crushing. But you are not a normal person. You are an alchemist. Alchemists know how to reverse polarity, how to flip the script, how to take incoming negative energy and transform it into outgoing positive power. So every attack made you stronger. Every betrayal made you wiser. Every insult made you more confident. They kept throwing more and more at you, wondering why you were not breaking. They did not understand that they were not attacking you. They were feeding you. They were fueling the very transformation that would eventually make you untouchable. Think about how extraordinary that is from their perspective. They invested all this time and effort into destroying you. And the result was the complete opposite of what they intended. They thought they were pouring water on your fire. They were actually pouring gasoline. They thought they were breaking you down. They were actually building you up. This is why Romans 8:28 rings so powerfully true. All things work together for good, not some things, not the comfortable things, all things, even the betrayals, even the darkest moments your enemies created. The alchemical process took everything they meant for evil and converted it into good. Took everything designed to weaken you and transformed it into strength. Took everything intended to end you and converted it into new beginnings. And here is where it becomes even more extraordinary. Alchemy is not just about transforming substances. It is about transforming the alchemists themselves. This is the secret that separates true alchemists from pretenders. Anyone can wish for transformation. Many people talk about personal growth, but true alchemy requires being willing to step into the fire yourself. You must be willing to be melted down, broken apart, and reconstructed. You must allow yourself to be the primary substance being transformed. Every time you transmuted their poison, you changed at a cellular level. Every time you converted their darkness into light, you evolved into a higher version of yourself. Every time you flipped their negative energy into positive power, you literally leveled up your consciousness. You were not just defending yourself against attacks, you were using those attacks as the raw material for your metamorphosis. Each trial was an initiation ceremony conducted by the universe. Each challenge was an upgrade to your operating system. Each betrayal was a graduation ceremony to the next level of your becoming. This is why you feel different now. This is why you cannot relate to who you used to be. This is why old friends who have not seen you in a while do a double take when they encounter you again. You are fundamentally not the same person. What stands now is the gold that was always hidden in the ore, the diamond that was always concealed in the carbon, the masterpiece that was always waiting inside the rough stone. Now you stand before them as someone they do not recognize. They remember the person they first attacked. They recall the individual they thought they could break, but that person is gone. That version has been completely transformed through the fires they themselves ignited. They created this. They forged this new you, and now they have to live with the consequences of their own actions. What your enemies intended for your destruction, the universe redirected for your elevation. Genesis 50:20 captures this perfectly. You intended to harm me, but God intended it for good, to accomplish what is now being done. That ancient truth is your truth. That ancient promise is your promise. Drop the number 77 in the comments right now if you are beginning to see how you have been transmuting everything they threw at you into pure power. Let that number be your declaration. Let it be your signal to the universe that you understand what has been happening in your life. But alchemy is just one aspect of what you are. There is another dimension to your nature that they completely failed to perceive. You are also a composer, a conductor, an orchestrator of reality itself. While they thought they were creating chaos in your life, you were actually composing a symphony. Every note they played, every discord they introduced, every jarring element they added, you were weaving it all into a larger composition they could not hear. They were making noise. You were making music. Think about how a symphony works. A composer takes many different instruments. each with its own sound, its own tone, its own voice. Some of these sounds, when heard in isolation, might seem harsh or unpleasant. A cymbal crash alone is just noise. A drum beat alone is just percussion. A violin screech alone is just irritation. But when a master composer brings all these elements together and conducts them with perfect timing, those individual harsh sounds combine into something breathtaking, something that moves people, something that stands the test of time. Your life is that symphony. Your enemies are instruments playing harsh notes. Each attack is a cymbal crash. Each betrayal is a drum beat. Each lie is a violin screech. In isolation, these things are just painful noise. But you, the composer, have been arranging these harsh notes into something magnificent. You have been conducting the chaos into harmony. You have been orchestrating the discord into a masterpiece that will be remembered long after everyone has forgotten the individual harsh sounds that made it up. They do not understand this because they cannot hear the whole composition. They only hear their own instrument. They only perceive their own contribution. They think their cymbal crash is the whole story. They assume their violin screech is what everyone will remember. But they are wrong. Their harsh notes are just brief moments in a much larger piece, fleeting dissonances that resolve into beautiful harmonies, temporary tensions that release into powerful resolutions. They are not the symphony. They are just instruments the composer used to create something they could never create on their own. A great composer does not avoid harsh sounds. They incorporate them intentionally. They use dissonance to make harmony more satisfying. They integrate difficult passages to make the beautiful moments more meaningful. Your enemies think they disrupted your symphony. They actually provided the exact dissonance needed to make your harmony transcendent. Psalm 23:5 reminds us of this truth. You prepare a table before me in the presence of my enemies. Not after they are gone, right in front of them. Your elevation is being arranged before the very people who tried to stop it. Every great symphony has a climax, a moment where all the themes come together, where all the instruments unite, where the entire composition reaches its peak power. Your symphony is approaching that climax now. All those harsh notes, all that discord, all those difficult passages, they are all converging into a crescendo that will take everyone's breath away. When people look at your life from a distance, when they see the complete composition instead of the individual moments, they will not remember the harsh sounds your enemies made. They will remember the incredible symphony you composed, and your enemies will be forgotten footnotes, unidentified instruments in a grand composition they never understood. If this is resonating, if you are beginning to hear the symphony your life is becoming, make sure you hit that like button now. It is a small act, but it carries energy, and energy, as we have learned, is never wasted. Now, let me reveal another layer of what is happening. While you were transmuting poison into power and composing chaos into symphony, something else was unfolding at the very same time, an eclipse. Not of the sun or the moon, but of perception, of truth, of reality itself. Your enemies thought they were casting you in shadow. They believed they were darkening your light. They assumed they were eclipsing your presence. But they fundamentally misunderstood how eclipses actually work. In a solar eclipse, the moon passes between the sun and the earth, blocking the sun's light temporarily. To observers on earth, it looks like darkness has overcome light, like the sun has been defeated. But anyone with perspective knows the truth. The sun has not been defeated. It has not been dimmed. It is still burning with the exact same intensity. The eclipse is just a trick of position, a temporary illusion created by alignment. And when the eclipse passes, the sun blazes forth even brighter than before, more appreciated because it was briefly hidden, more valued because people experienced what life looks like without it. Your enemies positioned themselves between you and the world. They tried to block your light. For a moment, to some observers, it looked like they succeeded. People who only saw the surface believed the lies. Observers who lacked perspective assumed you had been defeated. But it was all just an eclipse, a temporary trick of positioning, a brief illusion created by alignment. You were still burning with the same intensity. Your light was still just as bright. Your power was still just as real. The shadow was not on you. It was on the perception of you. And now the eclipse is ending. Your enemies are moving out of position. Their ability to block your light is fading. The illusion they created is dissolving. As the eclipse passes, as the shadow lifts, your light is blazing forth brighter than ever before. People who believed the lies are seeing the truth. Observers who lacked perspective are gaining clarity, and what they see is taking their breath away. Here is the thing about being eclipsed: it does not diminish you. It actually sets you up for a more dramatic revelation. When light suddenly bursts forth after a period of darkness, it is more impactful than light that was always visible. When your authentic self suddenly becomes visible after being hidden, it is more impressive than if you had never been obscured at all. Your enemies thought they were dimming your light. They were actually staging your most dramatic entrance, and the eclipse revealed something else entirely. During a solar eclipse, the sun's corona, which is normally invisible because the sun itself is too bright, suddenly becomes visible. That halo of light, extending millions of miles into space, can finally be seen when the direct light is temporarily blocked. Your enemies blocked your direct light, and in doing so, they revealed your corona. Aspects of your power that were always there but invisible suddenly became visible. Depths of your character that could not be perceived when you were simply being yourself suddenly revealed themselves. People are now seeing layers of you they never knew existed. They thought they were hiding you. They were actually unveiling you. They believed they were diminishing your presence. They were actually amplifying your impact. And as Isaiah 54:17 declares, "No weapon formed against you shall prosper." Every attack they launched, every shadow they tried to cast, every lie they spread, none of it ultimately prospered. Because weapons do not determine outcomes when a higher law is already in place. But there is yet another force at work that your enemies failed to consider. You are not just an alchemist, not just a composer, not just a light source being eclipsed and revealed. You are also the tide, the ocean, an inevitable force of nature that operates by laws that cannot be negotiated, cannot be manipulated, and cannot be stopped. The tide does not argue. It does not defend itself. It does not react to opposition. It simply moves according to its nature, according to the pull of celestial bodies, according to rhythms older than human civilization itself. Your enemies are like people standing on the beach, yelling at the tide to stop. They are drawing lines in the sand, commanding the water not to cross. They are building walls of sand, declaring that the ocean shall not pass. And for a brief moment, when the tide is out, they think they have won. They look at the dry sand and congratulate themselves on defeating the ocean. They celebrate their victory over the waves. They declare themselves masters of the sea, but anyone with wisdom knows what is coming. Anyone with perspective understands what happens next. The tide always returns. The ocean always reclaims its territory. The water always rises. You are that tide. For a period, you pulled back, you withdrew. You gave them space to build their sandcastles, to draw their lines, to make their declarations. They interpreted your withdrawal as retreat. They mistook your patience for weakness. They confused your strategic timing with defeat. But you were not retreating. You were gathering force. You were building momentum. You were preparing for the inevitable return. The withdrawal was not defeat. It was the breath before the declaration. It was the tide pulling back before the surge. And now you are coming back in, rising higher, pushing further, reclaiming everything and more. The beautiful thing about the tide is that it does not need to fight. It does not need to force. It simply rises. And everything that cannot withstand it is swept away naturally. Sandcastles crumble. Lines in the sand vanish. Walls of sand dissolve. Not because the tide is aggressive or violent, but simply because it is the tide. Watch what happens when the tide comes in. It does not announce itself with thunder. It does not demand attention with noise. It just moves forward, inch by inch, wave by wave, relentless and unstoppable. Children playing on the beach suddenly notice their feet are wet. People who thought they were safely above the waterline discover they need to move higher. And those who built elaborate structures in the sand watch helplessly as their creations dissolve. This is your energy right now. You are not making threats. You are not issuing warnings. You are not announcing your return. You are simply rising, moving forward, reclaiming your space. And everyone who positioned themselves in your path is starting to feel the water around their ankles, starting to realize they built their foundations on sand, starting to understand that no amount of resistance will stop what is already in motion. Your enemies can resist all they want. They can yell, they can build barriers, they can declare victory. But the tide does not care about their opinions. It only cares about the gravitational pull that controls it. And that pull, that cosmic force, that universal law, is entirely on your side. You are rising now. Everything they built while you were withdrawn is beginning to crumble. Every line they drew is being erased. Every barrier they constructed is dissolving. Not because you are forcing anything, but simply because your nature is to rise, because universal law is restoring balance. They can no more stop this than they could stop the actual ocean tide. And just like people who built too close to the water's edge, they are about to learn an unforgettable lesson about underestimating forces of nature. Now, here is the most poetic irony in this entire situation. Your enemies think they are the authors of your downfall. They believe they wrote a story where you are defeated and they are victorious. But in reality, they are not the authors of anything. They are characters in a story you are writing. Every action they took, every word they spoke, every move they made. You have been recording it all, documenting it, weaving it into a narrative that will be told for years to come. And in that narrative, they are not the heroes. They are not even the main villains. They are the obstacles that made the hero's journey worth telling. Think about every great story ever told. Every legendary hero in mythology, literature, and history faced enemies. Hercules had his trials. Odysseus had his long journey home. And as the scriptures tell it, a young shepherd named David had Goliath. Not despite Goliath, but because of Goliath. That encounter with a giant was precisely what revealed the anointing that had been on David all along. Every single protagonist needed antagonists to make their story worth telling. A hero who never faced opposition is not a hero. A success story with no obstacles is not inspiring. Your enemies provided the conflict that makes your victory meaningful. They delivered the opposition that makes your success impressive. They created the obstacles that make your story inspiring. And here is what they do not understand yet, but will soon discover. In every story, the hero is remembered. The villain is remembered only in relation to the hero. Nobody celebrates Goliath independently. Nobody admires the Cyclops on its own merit. Nobody studies Voldemort except to better understand Harry Potter. The antagonists exist only to highlight the protagonist. They think they are the main character, but they are just plot devices. You are the author. You are the protagonist. You are the main character. And they are just the challenging chapter that makes the rest of your story more impressive. Years from now, when people hear your story, when they learn about your journey, when they understand what you overcame, your enemies will be mentioned only in passing, brief descriptions of obstacles you conquered, temporary problems you solved, minor characters you outgrew. They will not be remembered for who they were. They will only be remembered for what you became in spite of them. This brings us to the culmination of everything. The prophecy is completing itself. Remember what I said at the very beginning. There was a prophecy written about you before you were born. Everything that has happened, every trial you faced, every enemy you encountered, every challenge you overcame, it was all part of that prophecy. The script was already written. The destination was already determined. The outcome was never in doubt. Jeremiah 29:11 speaks directly into your life. For I know the plans I have for you, plans to prosper you and not to harm you, plans to give you hope and a future. That was not a promise written for easy seasons. It was written for exactly this moment, for the person standing on the other side of everything they survived, finally beginning to see the shoreline. Your enemies thought they were choosing to attack you. They were actually fulfilling their role in a story set in motion long before they existed. Prophecies are interesting things. They do not happen despite opposition. They happen through opposition. The prophecy does not say the hero will have an easy path. It says the hero will face obstacles and emerge victorious. Your enemies were those obstacles. They were the difficulty the prophecy required. They were the opposition necessary to create the triumph. Without them, the prophecy could not have been fulfilled. Without their attacks, your destined transformation could not have occurred. Without their darkness, your light could not have been revealed in its full glory. So, in a way, you should thank them, not because they deserve gratitude, but because they played their part perfectly. They provided exactly the challenges you needed to become who you were meant to be. They were not your destroyers. They were your refiners, your unwitting assistants in the fulfillment of your destiny. And now the prophecy is reaching its climax. All the pieces are in place. All the elements have aligned. All the conditions have been met. What comes next is not something you need to force or create. It is something that will unfold naturally, inevitably, and cosmically. The alchemist has completed the transmutation. The composer has arranged the symphony. The eclipse has passed, and the light is fully revealed. The tide has returned and is reclaiming its territory. The author has written the story, and the prophecy is fulfilling itself exactly as it was always meant to. The door that was prepared for you has been open all along. It was always yours, and now you are walking through it fully confidently. Without apology, your only job now is to step fully into your role, to embrace who you have become, to accept the power you have gained, to claim the destiny that has been prepared for you. No more doubting yourself, no more questioning your worth, no more wondering if you deserve this. The universe does not make mistakes. Prophecies do not activate for random people. You were chosen for this before you were born. You were prepared for this throughout your entire life. You were refined for this through every single trial. And now it is time to walk in the fullness of what you are. If this message has awakened something deep within you, if you can feel the truth of these words resonating in your soul, drop the number 77 in the comments right now. Let it be your declaration to the universe. Let it be your signal that you have heard this, that you believe it, and that you are choosing to step into it today. If these words shifted something in you today, there is a quiet way to honor that right below this video. It is called Super Thanks, no obligation. But if something real was received here, that feature exists for exactly this kind of moment. And if you want to stay connected to messages like this one, subscribe to Chosen Pathfinders. This is a space for people not lost, but learning to trust the path. People not broken, but being refined. People not behind, but right on time. Share this message with someone who needs to understand they are not a victim of random attacks. but a hero in a prophesied journey, because together we rise. Together, we fulfill the prophecies written about us. Together, we show the world what happens when chosen ones finally wake up and remember exactly who they are.